Jake, obviously not the result you wanted. That first half, you guys let them get away quite a bit, and especially Sudney's try was a bit of a hammer blow there for you guys.
Exactly that. So, when in summary, before the game I said, make sure they don't let them tap and play quickly, which I mean, that's a sort of upsetting thing because to be fair, they didn't look like scoring. You think about it, that one try, I know it came from a turnover kick, but other than that, it wasn't like we were under pressure on our try line. It wasn't like defensively we were under pressure in multi-phase. And the only way they were going to score is through our own mistakes. I mean, they get 9 points from high tackles, offsides. My summary of it is quite easy, Brennan, doesn't matter what team it is, especially the bottom teams. It is like that with all teams, but especially with the bottom teams. When they get 20 points to 3 up, they start believing that they can win. They grow an extra leg, and that's what happened. They must have thought, geez, this is fantastic, we're going to win this game. And we still won the second half from that 20 points to 3 down. We still won at 20 to whatever it was, 6. But it wasn't enough. 20. It was 9 because they scored 9 points. So we just made it hard for ourselves. And we're better than that. Maybe that's the message I gave to them. We're better than that. We're not playing well. Whatever the reason is, collectively we've got to sort it out. And we camped in there half the second half. We were there like the whole time. And yet, we didn't finish. And I know every coach says that. But geez, we've got to just make sure we're a little bit more, I suppose, a little bit more detailed as to what calls we call. And it's no one's fault. I mean, Cornell carried that one up and he gets tackled, and then from the side we give a penalty away. That's momentum gone. So it's one of those things we're going to have to learn. And you've been in rugby a long time too. I just thought to myself when I was sitting talking to the players now, get those seasons where the margins are, and they lost more try. He runs under the poles, he gives a penalty try, all of a sudden you're sitting here and you're saying, shit, well done, 5 points. So those are the margins. So we just got to make sure we take our chances from now on in. We make it tough for ourselves, we make it a hell of it tough for ourselves, but I've been coaching a long time, so I get confidence out of the fact we'll get it right. It's not major things that we're struggling with.
Obviously these next 2 weeks are going to be quite important in terms of that, just before you head overseas to get these things right. And I know it's not an easy thing, but it's just carry on hard work.
Yeah. And also, I think the thing that they've got to look at is be positive. There's no use. The Lions were always going to get one right. They got one last week, and they're not a bad side. They when they play well, they ask questions. But taking nothing away from their win doesn't help if you give them 9 points by being offsides and then a tap penalty and under the poles at 16 points now. And then the best kicker who's ever played for this province, barring Nas, kicks 3 conversions miss. I think he's missed 3 kicks. I think that's the first time in his career he's ever missed 3 kicks. So, and I know they were difficult, but it's it's all about momentum. Instead of hitting the pole, it goes over. All of a sudden, the game shape changes. So, I've got to look at you guys and say that happens. We've just got to make sure that next time we play or next time we run out on the field, we get it right.
You talked about the attack. You guys did score 4 tries, had 1 disallowed, so it should have been 5 technically.
Correct.
So it was a bit better. Still not where you want to be, but obviously it was better.
No, not often. In fact, I've been here with a Brumby who scored 6 tries to 2 and lost the game as well. So it's sort of like, Brennan. We scored 4 tries, 1 disallowed. It's not often you score 4 tries and lose the game. And I think we can only blame the fact that we just gave them too many soft points. Once you, as I said, 3 penalties and a tap penalty to go and score into the pole 16. Not many teams that can not come back, but there are not many teams you can give a 16-point start to in this competition. I think you're going to win.
Coach, you spoke about the fine margins.
Yes.
And also spoke about Mornay State.
Yes.
Today, he flipped quite a few points on the kicking goal.
Yeah.
Do you feel as if it was one of those occasions where your stalwart who usually, comes to save the day, sort of let the Union down today?
No, he didn't let anyone down. I think he probably, by his high standards, he probably wouldn't have enjoyed that performance anyway, from a kicking point of view. So, it happens. That's why I said sometimes in life you get those seasons or you get those games where who knows? Maybe he's going to kick the winning kick against the Stormers when we play them in the playoffs. That's how things change quickly. So I didn't let anyone down. I think by his standards, he probably just feels as though he can do better than that, and he knows he can.
Do you still on those fine margins? Do you look at individuals such as the likes of Kirkley Orange, a player who can bring something out of nothing with a quick individual moment of individual brilliance? Do you think in moments like these you miss a player like that to be the difference?
Exactly. I mean, I know it sounds if, but maybe the same opportunities that all the other players had. You put Kirkley and Kane in there, we would have finished them. You know what I mean? That's just that's why they Springboks. That's why they, that's why they've been picked to play at the high level. So we when I look back at that game, we had enough chances. We camped in the second half there. I think there was also another try that was disallowed early on where we, when we went into the corner there as well. So it's as I said, the margins are so small. I mean, last week, the last play of the game, or last week, the last game, last play of the game, we could have scored, beat the Stormers. Last Maul try, we could have scored, and we would have beaten both games. That's 10 points. I mean, 10 points changes everything.
Just lastly from my side, we speak about the last time against the Stormers. The message was that there's not much that's gone wrong. We're still on the right track. We need to fix here and there. There's 4 losses in a row now across 2 competitions. When does that conversation start to change from we need to be on the right track?
When we win. It's not a science, guys. And the reality is when it changes, when we win. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I mean, we're disappointed. We probably a little bit embarrassed as well by the fact that we had enough to win that game. But it happens. It happens. I don't want to sound as though we accept it. It happens, and I mean, we're going to have to sit collectively. I think it's not me to. I can't wave a wand and get it right. I can't expect the players to wave a wand. One thing we need now is to be positive. And we need to be positive about a lot. There's a lot of rugby left to play, and some seasons you get it right, some seasons you don't. I sort of thought to myself, I mean, Liverpool 2 years ago, they played in the European Cup final, they won the Premiership, and now they're struggling. What is it? Jurgen Klopp lost his touch. The players there, they used to. Sometimes it goes like that. Sometimes the ball bounces a bit differently. Sometimes 1 or 2 calls don't go your way. Sometimes they go your way. So to answer your question, I know we just got to keep working, keep fighting, keep preparing like we do. Keep getting the players to understand it will turn. I mean, the one thing about sport which I enjoy is that circle, it goes around.
Thank you. Talk about the frustration of all those 50-50 calls.
Yeah.
And things. I mean, there was the other 2 minutes to go. That scrum in the corner. No one knows what really happened.
No, well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I mean that's what I'm trying to say is if Yaku had decided that scrum was dominant from the Bulls and given us a penalty and we kicked it in the corner and we win the game, then you guys would be saying, "Sheesh, you guys have come a long way. How did you come back from 20 points to 3 down? Yes, you guys have got great character. Geez, the way you guys fought back. Your scrum, and you always talk about the scrum to me. Your scrum is phenomenal compared to how it used to be. Those are the margins."
But the thing that I want to touch on is there was people criticizing your captain in the past.
Yeah.
That specific drive out from Nwamba, I mean, he was a meter in front of the ref and a meter and a half to his right. The rule states clearly that he must be behind the line or behind the ref.
But if
you ask the question there.
Yeah, but that's what I said. There's 5 guys who are watching that. There's a TMO, there's 2 touch judges, or ARs as they call them now, assistant referees. So not touch judges anymore. They're there to assist the referee. They didn't see it. But again, what I'm trying to say to you is those are the margins, Chris. I think, last week we played the Stormers, or 2 weeks ago there was a knock-on by Sinatla. It led to a yellow card of David Creel. Now, it's easy. Afterwards they say, "Geez, we missed the knock-on." Now, who knows? Maybe when we get to the end of the tournament, when it's knockout, we'll get that call in our favour. So, I can't complain. I mean, I think if I look at the game, give them 9 points and a tap penalty, whether it was the way it worked out, 16 points on the scoreboard. You take 16 points away from them, I mean, it's a one-way fixture. So, it's, as I said, and I think the captain unfairly gets criticised. I mean, the captain can only go and ask, was he on the mark? And if he says yes, what must he say?
And my other question is, for me, the difference between the two teams was the fast play for them from breakdown, and
Yeah.
your style is more like waiting to be in line and everything like that.
Yeah,
Do you think that's a problem?
although, of course, you say that there were times where we had the ball in our hands and we were moving them around, and there were massive holes that we opened up through the pace at which we played. So I think what I will say is that we've got reliant on power in the 22, and when it doesn't work, we probably feel as though we don't want to score long range tries. And it's quite ironic because one of the best tries we would have scored today is the one that was disallowed, and that started from our own half with a long range effort. So I don't think so. I don't think it's that. I think we want to play as quickly as everybody else. And the breakdown, again, you can sit here and I can show you clips and I can say there were times where I thought they got away with it because they were off their feet or they had their hands on the ground. But, as I said, those are the margins that you either get them or you don't get them,
I want to ask a strange question. Like in American gridiron, do you think the time will come when we get a specialist coming onto the field just in scrum time? Because there's so much calls made that make a difference in the game.
I know, but I'll tell you why we won't. Because the cost factor of having that at every game is going to be, I think one of the things, Chris, that happens is whatever law you make, 2 referees, I'll give you an example. Let's say they decide 2 referees are better. Where are you going to find 2 referees at a schoolboy game every time? When you struggle,
every referee is either centre or scrum half, they don't know everything.
No, sure, but then we'll get a scrum coach that can't keep up with the game, and they'll say, so yeah, I think the point is that that's part of the human element of the game that we have. It's frustrating. It's a hell of a frustrating. I remember a couple of games, and that's why 2 things. I mean, one thing that I remember is I remember when Jan Hendrik was playing prop and he was learning. There was no love. He got pinned. Today, they collapse, and it was fine. So you've got to accept that. I'm saying that hopefully one day we'll be on the other side. So I don't want to moan. I'm saying I'm a realist. I'm saying to you that we can't blame anybody. We gave them 9 points and a tap free kick or tap penalty under the poles. Well, then you can't say the referee should have given a penalty there and he could have, because it's immaterial. We shouldn't have been in that position in the beginning.
Jack, I saw your interview on TV before the game where you said you wanted to see the players show how desperate they were.
Yes.
Do you feel, unfortunately, though, that the Lions showed that they were a bit more desperate tonight than the Bulls?
Yeah, I suppose it depends which half you want to analyse. Second half we looked desperate to come back. First half we probably didn't look like we were. Yeah, as I said, I just think high tackle. Like a little thing. It's little things. We get a penalty on the halfway line right in the beginning of the game. Mornay taps it and runs it. We knock it on from that scrum. We high tackle. They get 3 points. How do we get ourselves in that situation? We've got a penalty on the halfway line. We kick it into the 22. And the irony is the very next time we had a line out on that side of the field in that place where he would have kicked it out, we scored. We scored with Wandasili in the left-hand corner. So, yeah, I don't think, yes, Ken, I don't think we were desperate enough in the beginning. I think it was just words. And that's why I think we feel a little bit disappointed because they can't just say things and not understand. Before the game, please, guys, watch. They're going to tap and run every free kick and penalty. And as Struesnuts, the first time they do it, they go and score.
Just following that up, in the 65th minute, I think it was, you guys had just taken the lead. And the Lions had the ball in a ruck. The scrum half there were no runners. He had nothing to do. So he threw the ball probably forward into the back of your player who was getting up off the ground trying to get back on side. And they get a penalty, 3 crucial points to go back into the lead. Do you feel that's cynical? Is that the sort of thing that we want to see in rugby?
I think George Gregan's been doing that since the Rugby started. So, and it's a penalty. If you're offsides, remember we used to have referee coaches. We had Andre Watson used to call it lazy runners. Remember? So, the bottom line is it's a penalty. That's part of Ken. That's part of why you run that play. You run it up and then you change direction into the forwards, and you do it because by the law of of movement, there's no ways that those guys can be onside if you get the timing right. So yeah, I don't have. I mean, whether he did it on purpose, whatever, we weren't behind the last man's feet, so it's a penalty.
No, it was a 4-point defeat, and it's now a point at home, but you still scored 4 tries to get a bonus point, and you came back from 23 down. So I'm finding it a bit difficult to sort of really rate this performance. So where do you stand in terms of this? Because they did show fighting spirit in the second half, but ultimately you lost it in the end. Yeah,
look, Ashraf, I mean, the bottom line is you get measured on results. I'm reading a thing by Vincent Lombardi this week, and we get judged on results. So, I mean, where it gets measured as a loss. And, in our game, we can't afford losses. We got to win, So, that's how the measurement is for me. We want to be a winning team. We want to be a winning province. And obviously the measurement is we failed that test today.
And just in terms of improvements, were there any positives for you that you got answers tonight going forward? Because I mean, there's 2 big games coming up, Ulster away, and then to lose in the Champions Cup.
Yeah, I think you said it. I mean, one thing is we didn't. One of the things that happened, we were 12-3 up, and then when Stormers took the lead, we started to panic against the Stormers. This time we were 20 points to 3 down. If I have to take a positive out, we stuck in the fight and we ended up taking the lead in the 65th minute, as Ken quite rightly says. So that would be a positive. I think the fact we scored 4 tries and had 1 disallowed, that's 5 tries, is also a positive. But, Ashfaq, I think when I look back at the season, it's one of those seasons where, I just think we got to just keep staying positive. The thing will turn. If you remember last year, I'm sure you do, Stormers lost to Benetton, and Stormers ended up winning the competition. So there's 3 games left. We just got to make sure we play as well as we can in those 3 games. We make it tough for ourselves now. I mean, Leinster and Ulster are 2 very, very big teams to play against. I haven't really checked at all the other results. I think by tomorrow I'll have a look and see. But at this point in time, we win those 3 games, we're still in the playoffs. So we still have our destiny in our own hands. What we don't want to do is get to the last weekend where we need people to beat other people for us to make the playoffs. So, so as long as you got that as a coach and as a team, you've got hope.
Just finally, Jake, your lock position doesn't really change. You stay 6 because the Shark lost today, so you're sort of in the same boat. But just in terms of your box, Kanan and Kurtie, will they be back for the Ulster game?
Yeah. So they finished. I think they finished on Friday. I think if I got my details right, they finished the camp on Friday. And then they're back to the Bulls, and obviously as soon as they're back, then I can start integrating them into the team.
I don't want to sound like a sticking record. We earlier in the week touched on 2 specific points in terms of your stats. You and I stand corrected because there are still games to be played. Are second towards the most points scored behind Leinster. And again tonight, 4 tries, but you just don't cut the chase. That part on the one hand. And secondly, in the 22, the old story, in the 22, the finishing off, that doesn't happen. Jake, how do you address that?
So, Simon, first question is, yes, we scored the 2nd most points, which in itself, as I said to you during the week, is a measurement of whether you've got a chance to win a competition. I'm not saying you don't have to. I mean, there are other teams that play less and score less, and they're in the playoffs. So, but I think for me as a coach, philosophy is to score as many points as you can, score as many tries as you can, because you give yourself a chance to win every single game. You're not going to win every game 12-3 or, as I said to you, 8-14 or whatever. You're not going to win those games like that. So, I'm comfortable that I attack and I think at times the variation we have is working. Defensively, I thought, again, I know that they didn't ask too many questions, but when they did try and keep the ball through the phases, I thought we defended well today, and we actually defended much better than we have in a while. And then, I suppose finishing, that's for every team. I think we probably, for a lot of reasons, we probably get overexcited. I mean, Chris also said to me, captaincy-wise, there's a lot of responsibility for our captain calling the line out. It's like this, Simon. It's like gambling. If you call red and and they go red, then it looks like you've got the wrong call. If you go red and they go black, you win. So I just think at this point in time, we're calling plays and calling things that are probably not anyone's fault. It's just we're probably getting the sequences wrong, or the sequences, as I said, sequences can be better. In other words, do we maul? Do we play off the top? Do we? Those are also things that the captain has to learn, and the group has to learn. It's not only him. So we need the 10 to help. We need the hooker to help. We need to, and we're probably getting Simon. We're probably getting that sort of sequence wrong. Little things. I mean, I look back. I'm sure you guys remember there was a line out. It went over the top. Carl Brink caught it. He had to play it inside. He didn't. It doesn't matter. He nearly made the try line. So. Maybe we could have mauled that line out, but the point I'm trying to make is that we're not getting the sequences right, and that's part of a collective understanding about what kind of pressure we want to put the defence on when we're in the 22.
As far as the ease of collecting points, as far as your penalties are concerned, the penalties that came from the Lions came into relatively easy scoring parts.
Yeah.
That must be a serious concern for you as well, and probably ties up with what you've explained to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you give, one of the things you've got to give penalties to other teams when they can't get points, and we probably gave too many penalties where they took the points. So, who knows? I mean, as I said, it's easy to say what if, but if that team had kicked for the corner, maybe some other teams would have backed themselves, gone to the corner. They took the 3 points, and as it turned out, it worked in their favour. So. I can't, as I said, Simon, I sit here and my summary is very simple. We should have won, we could have won. We can't let any team get 20 points to 3 up, especially not a team that's desperate. I mean, they've got a lot of things to fight for. Those guys have a lot to fight for, and credit to them. They showed us that they can win a game like that. So, well done to them.